Hello, 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 and welcome. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Masterclass, the key to your easy life. I am so excited to be here, especially because it's the first part. It might be the first time that we are actually together here, that you see me. I sadly can't see you, but I know you're here. I feel your energy. So excited to be here with you. Welcome and welcome. If you're here, if you can hear me, let me know in the chat. I hope you can all see me. I hope you can all hear me. If you are in the Facebook community, if you're in the Facebook group and you're listening there to me and watching me there, perfect. Because you can leave comments, you can ask questions in the chat, you can share with us what is coming up for you. If you have an aha moment, if you have a breakthrough moment, you can let us know. If you're watching on the website link that I shared with you, of course you can stay there and watch as well, but sadly there is no chat functionality. So I left you down at the bottom of that page where you just click to see me, a button, and you can join right now the Facebook community. And my community manager, Sarah, is going to let you in as soon as possible so you can have the full experience in the Facebook community with the chat functionality. So either you're already there and you watch me on the Facebook community, you can completely interact, you can ask me questions, you can share insights, or if you're on the website, come over to the Facebook community, press a button under the video and be more interactive. But first of all, I want to say welcome everybody to the masterclass. I want to say as well, welcome to the ones who are watching the replay now. Thank you so much for making the time, blocking your time and prioritizing yourself and being here with me today. So welcome everybody. I want to make sure that you have everything that you got, that you can see me, that you can hear me. The replay is going to be available tomorrow if you can't catch the whole thing, if you have to leave a little bit earlier. I think we're going to be between 60 to 90 minutes. It depends of how long I'm going to talk and how many questions you have, of course. We're going to end up with the Q&A today. But I hope that you can stay with me as long as possible, but otherwise you can watch the replay. So in this masterclass, what are we going to do? Well, you will find out, you will discover the key to your easy life. Alone in this session, we're already going to focus on the key. I'm going to share it with you. But the whole masterclass gives you the whole system to change your life and bring more joy and more fun into your life. So make sure that you see all three parts, because that's really the explanation and the whole system that you need to go forwards afterwards. So I have given you as well a workbook. You might have received it and downloaded it already. It's just for this part. You can, of course, just use paper and pen, but please make some notes. If you have the workbook there, you can use it. I think Sarah, our community manager, is going to post the link as well. If you want to open it up, you can. It's actually fillable, so you can type away while you're actually here watching me in this training. And what I want to say as well, close any distractions. So put everything else away, close any of the other tabs that you don't need, put your phone away, flip it over so you don't see what is coming through. I want you to be fully focused here. I'm here just for you. I'm totally focused on you. I want you to be focused and I want you to have the best experience out of this. So make sure that you stay with me, you concentrate, and you are not distracted in between and miss anything, because then you have to watch it all again. We don't want that. Okay. And then what we're going to cover in the next three parts of this masterclass is maybe something that you heard before. Maybe you have read it before, you had other trainings before, so something might resonate with you and you will know that you have heard it before. And what it means is that you are coming with the mindset of, maybe with a filter of, oh, I know that already, or I have heard this before. And it feels like there is a lot of information as well out there. So you could come here to this training with a full cup, literally like a glass of water, a cup that is already very full. And I don't want you to do that, because it means that there is no place to fill anything new in. And I want you to fill something new in. I want you to pay attention, because what if there is just this one little puzzle piece missing for you to make a significant shift in your life? What if I say something that you heard before, just slightly different, and it suddenly clicks? It suddenly gives you an aha moment or a breakthrough. So I have a huge request for you. Please be here with an empty cup. Be open to hear everything new as if you haven't heard it before. I want you to have the best experience. I want you to have aha moments today. I want you to have breakthroughs and take something away. And with a full cup, that is very difficult. So empty your cup, be open-minded, be fully present, because that means that just today, this session could be your start of your transformational journey. And how exciting will that be? So, sounds good? Great. So, let's get started. I actually want to introduce myself first of all and share with you a little bit actually of who I am. So, my name is Linda Lange, and I am the host of the Raise Your Energy podcast. And I'm an energy coach. So, I help high performing professionals like yourself to finally get to have that easy life that they desire. And I'm as well the creator of the Make Life Easy program, to which I opened the doors very briefly and very shortly after this masterclass on the 4th of October. But now we're here together. We want to discover the key to your easy life, and we're going to get started immediately. So let me ask you a few questions and see if this resonates with you. Are you somebody who sometimes lies awake at night and your mind is going super quick and you just can't shut it off? You might have your to-do list in your mind. You might worry about work. You're playing through your mind scenarios. You just can't go back to sleep. Is that something that you have experienced before? I for sure have. And maybe you are somebody who have really worked so hard for the last 20 plus years to build your career, to start your amazing family, and to build your home. But now you're wondering, when is there going to be time for you? When is it the time for you to have some energy left to maybe start that hobby, maybe start that project that you're talking about for years? Or maybe you have amazing big dreams still in your life to come. You just don't know where to get the energy and the motivation from, right? And maybe you are so career focused and you're giving your best at work every single day that at the end of the day, there is just not much left. Mostly you can just shut your computer, or when you come home through the door, all you can do is just fall onto the sofa, get some dinner, maybe take away, and binge watch some Netflix. I feel you. I completely know where you're coming from. But that's not really what you want to have in your life. You want to have more energy. You want to enjoy your life more and not give it all at work, right? And you might ask yourself when it actually starts to get easier. Maybe you have thoughts in your minds like, is life really meant to be that hard? When will it finally start to get easier? When will the time come that life is finally easy and all the hard work that you put in over the last decades actually give something back to you? So you have time, you have energy for yourself, to be happier, to have more fun, and to have a more relaxed and calm life. If all of this, what I just said, resonates with you, you might understand of what happened to me last year when I was in a place where it all just got far too much. So let me share a little bit more with you about this. Last summer, I was in a fairly bad place. But I didn't know I was. I didn't realize. I worked myself into the ground for over a decade, but I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't understand that my health was deteriorating, my mental health, my physical health, and even my emotional health. I just didn't realize, but I knew that I was not in the best place and I wasn't really feeling that well. It's like you're waking up suddenly one morning after all this year and you ask yourself, what just happened? Where am I? Why is this happening to me? Right? This is what happens when it's such a long time and not an instant event, but at some point we're just waking ourselves up and we realize what just happened and why do I feel like that? So I was highly stressed in my job. I dreaded opening that laptop in the mornings. I dreaded going to work. And still, at the end of the day, when I was closing off my laptop, I still didn't feel happy or free from it. Because what happens is that if we spend all of this time at work and we are not in the best place, we have feelings like frustration, we're feeling exhausted, and we might be angry or resentful of anything happening there. This swaps over into our private life. We can't stop that happening, that all of these emotions flow as well into our life when we are off on the weekend or even in the evening. So it has a huge impact on our complete life, which is not great, right? So in July last year, it really got pretty bad. I was not working really well. I was even performing not very well anymore, even that I didn't realize just in reflection now. I know that I wasn't doing a very good job anymore. I was procrastinating on really stupid little things, and even the bigger ones. And I was dreading going into meetings or calls because there were some people who would trigger me, they frustrate me, and they would take all of my energy away. So sometimes I would even leave calls and I would just cry because all of these negative feelings inside of myself would be so overwhelming. That's where I ended up. And at some point, one day, my husband, he literally sat me down and he said, "You're either going to quit your job now or you're going to the doctor and see somebody because you're not okay. It cannot keep going on like that." So that's what I did. I went to the doctor and I was diagnosed with a burnout. I think that's not a big surprise to anybody, right? But I had to take 6 weeks off of work to actually recover and be in a place where I had to go back. Looking back at that time now that when I talk about it, I say that this was really the best thing that ever happened to me in my life. But don't get me wrong, I don't want you to end up at such a place. Maybe you feel you already are. So please pay very good attention over the next 3 trainings, because I will share with you a lot of things that can help you get yourself out of this again or seek as well other help. But if you're not there yet, I don't want you to end up there because it's not fun. It's not great to be in that place. So get help, stay present in this training as well, and try to turn your life around because it's not great to be there. So I walked away from my normal life in these 6 weeks. And of course, I was suddenly by myself. I realized that something had to fundamentally shift because I did not want to go back to work in the same mindset or in the same place that I already was in. So I made a pact with myself, and I think that was quite powerful. I promised myself that I wouldn't go back to work if not something fundamentally shifted inside of myself, my perspective, my way of being, my way of living my life. Something had to fundamentally shift. I could not go back being in the same place, in the same mindset, and just doing the same thing again and ending up in a burnout situation just months or years after. That was just not a solution. And I think that pact was a good message to the universe because it worked. I even took myself in these 6 weeks, I took myself for a week away from home so I wouldn't distract myself. And I spent a week really, truly just by myself with no distraction. I did a lot of meditation, journaling, and self development. And this is where the shift started to happen. This is where I would say the magic happened and the big realization started. And in that week, the realization started, and I'm going to share with you the first one for sure, because that's an important one in a minute. But it didn't start afterwards. What I realized is I kept having new realization. I started to learn new things about myself, about how life actually works. And I started to learn how we can play this game of life so much easier. And that was just magical. And I think you can understand why I now talk about this time as being the best thing that ever happened to me. And you know, this situation where you have as well suddenly some clarity, you have an aha moment and you understand something, and then afterwards a lot of other things as well become clear to you as well. That everything starts to make sense suddenly, and everything becomes kind of easy and light and flow in a really nice energy. And that's kind of what happened to me in that week. I had this huge big realization and aha moment, and it never really stopped. It's like a domino stone, and I kicked the first one over, and then all the other domino stones start to fall automatically and with such beauty. And for me, where I am now 1 year later, the domino stones are still falling, and I want them to fall for the rest of my life, because this is powerful stuff. This is amazing, and I want to keep growing and evolving and learning more about this, even that I am already in such a good state. And what I created as well out of this transformation with all of that knowledge is my program, Make Life Easy. But already in this masterclass, I'm going to share with you my biggest insights, and you can take them away and you can start implementing them in your life already. So let me share with you the first realization that I had, which is kind of a fundamental step. It's not yet the key. The key is coming a little bit later, but it's such a fundamental step for all of the work that comes afterwards, that if you don't have that one, all the rest doesn't make sense. And I want you really, truly in this training to get this one. So ask questions if it's not clear. You might have heard this before, and I really want you for it to sink in and for it to really click, so you can literally get out of this training and start implementing, start using it, because it's so powerful and such a great start. So let me just go in as well and share with you what I'm talking about. And it's actually the principle of becoming the observer. You might have heard this before. These are my words. I'm going to share with you other words that other people use in this world. And being the observer means noticing what we feel, think, do, and imagine without being attached to the experience. That's what the definition of the observer is. Like I said, you might have heard it described differently. So I'm just going to share with you what other authors and spiritual leaders in the world call it. Abraham Hicks, for example, says your source energy. Byron Katie calls it the compassionate witness. Martha Beck is saying the essential self. I, for example, sometimes describe it as well as the higher self. And Brooke Castillo calls it the watcher. You can call it as well consciousness or self-awareness. But at the end, it is really truly all the same. And it comes down to being the observer. And that's what I would call it now and in my program as well. So let me share with you a little bit of how I got in that week away, how I got to find the observer. And that might make it a little bit easier for you to understand what it really is. So in my whole life until last year, I always thought that I kind of was my mind. I didn't had a sense of anything else. I really thought that like the most intelligent me was my mind. And if I would manage my mind and my thoughts, if I would get control over it, that would be it. That's when my life starts to get easy and happy and joyful. And of course, it never happened. I have read so many books on self-development and mind management, and it never really clicked. I never really got it and never had a breakthrough, obviously, in that regards. But what helped me to find out that I'm not my mind is meditation. So last year I started already about 2 years ago, but last year I started to meditate more regularly. And in meditation, if you've done it before, you know that you are supposed to take away the focus from your body and from your mind. So the intention is that you're very still and you try not to think or have thoughts, even that they always pop up again and again, obviously. But that's really the intention of meditation. And when I started to do it regularly and get this split seconds and few seconds of time where I really truly was there, I was in that zone and I didn't have any thoughts, that's when it hit me. I'm not my mind, I'm not my body, but I'm still here. I'm still something or somebody. I'm still being here. So who am I? This is how I found the observer. And that was such a huge breakthrough moment for me because, like I said, my whole life I thought I'm my mind. I am my thoughts and I have no control over it. I really have to learn and study very hard to understand my mind and control it better. But actually, what I needed to become is the observer and understand that I'm not my mind and that I'm not my body, because these are just tools that we're here to use. And being the observer means that you can observe yourself, you can observe your thoughts, you can observe how you act or react in your environment. You can observe when you're triggered by negative emotions of what actually happens to you. This is all the power you have when you understand that you can be the observer and that you can step into the power of the observer. So that's what I did. That was my big first realization. And I think it's a very fundamental step that we need to understand to make all of this happen and having these breakthrough moments. So I started to apply it. I started to become more observant of my inside and not just the outside of what was happening outside. And I give you an example of where I actually realized for the first time that I did it. So before I had this breakthrough moment, I said I was quite often in calls and people would trigger me and I would feel like they would take away my energy. I would literally come out of calls completely exhausted with a headache and so frustrated with some of these people. You might have some of these people as well at work. And then afterwards, when I went back to work, because I knew now about the observership and that I have the possibility to step into the observer and bringing some distance, I decided to not have that happen to me anymore in these calls. I went into the same calls and it truly did not happen. I decided that I wouldn't give my energy away, that I wouldn't go and have these negative emotions. And it actually worked. For me, honestly, that moment was like pure magic. This is when I thought, oh my God, this all works. I need to keep doing this. And nothing changed. The situation didn't change. The people on the call didn't change. The project at work was still the same and still a mess before. But I came out of the call. I wasn't exhausted. I felt fine. I felt better than fine. I was in a high, obviously, because I realized that I can do this job and not feel exhausted anymore. So that was the first moment, the first situation where but what I can remember now that I realized of how powerful this is. So I kept applying this. I still keep applying it. I mean, this is an endless journey and we can always get better at it. But it has brought me already so much more energy back in my life and so much more relaxed and calmness and ease into my life, especially at work, which is very powerful. So I kept applying this. So this is kind of the first big realization that I want to share with you. But when I kept applying this more and more, I had some other realization. It was kind of the next step after probably a few months. And it's about the principle of letting go. And you might have heard that before you might have heard things where people said you need to let go of your past, or you need to let go of maybe people in your life that are just not helpful. You might be told before, let go of things or things that you're attached to, or memories. And these are all partly a little bit more outside things in the outside world. And sure, they're all really important. But when I speak about my concept of letting go, I'm talking more about the inside, and start to let things go on the inside. So let me share with you a little bit my definition of letting go, which is so powerful. Letting go is the process of freeing yourself from obsessing thoughts, disempowering beliefs, and unwanted feelings. These are all things that are more on the inside. They are not visible. They're not visible to anybody else. But if we are stepping into the observer, we start to see these thoughts that are unhelpful. We start to realize the beliefs that are stuck literally in our DNA and in our unconsciousness, and that they rule our life, and the feelings that are stuck in our DNA because we never acknowledged them and they are holding us back. So for me, the letting go principle is more of a concept of insight. And I can tell you from experience, when you start doing that, when you start letting go of all of these thoughts, beliefs, and feelings, or you replace them with better thoughts, better beliefs, and better feelings, all of the things outside in the world actually start to change automatically, and you don't have to let go on the outside because it will literally happen. That is the law of attraction, and that is quantum physics. It's actually proven in science that it works, that we make our world and we control our world through our thoughts, our beliefs, and our emotions. So if we're doing the work inside and we can let go of all the things that we accumulated over our whole life, this is where the magic happens, and your outside world automatically will change around you. So I find this so interesting that actually it starts as well becoming a thing really as well in research. So I'm giving you an example here where in Australia, they actually did a study and some research on students in high school. And they taught them a lot around non-attachment. It's just a different word of saying letting go and becoming the observer. So what they found is that by teaching these students much more about it, they were able to develop a more positive mental health. They measured all kinds of different things and surveyed these 2,400 students, which is amazing. And they realized that they felt much better. They had a much better experience and view on life. So what they actually did after this study is they created an app. They actually made it part of the curriculum to give all of these students an app that helps them to become more non-attached to experiences in our lives and all of these feelings that we sometimes feel, and the thoughts and the beliefs. So truly become the observer and letting go. And I love that we are now starting to have research in these areas and prove that this is really going to work. And I love that finally we're starting, minimum in one part of the world, of teaching it to our children. Because you and I, we all have not been taught this at school. Sadly not. We all have to learn it now the hard way, so to say, or by you appearing here and listening to me. But I love that it's now as well part of the school. And another phrase that Eckhart Tolle says quite nicely is, sometimes letting things go is an act of far greater power than defending or hanging on. And this power is really, really important. And that's what I want to talk to you about now, which is actually getting to the key. Because that power that you're getting is pure energy. And the key to having that easy life that we all want, I hope so, is to have full access to our energies. We need to have better access to the abundant energy that we actually have in ourselves. And unblocking that energy flow is the only way to start living that easy life, that life of fulfillment and joy and happiness that we all desire. So let me share with you a little bit more of what I mean. How many of you have tried to change something in your life before and it just didn't work out? And how many of you put a lot of energy into, for example, building your career and working towards this one promotion just for somebody else to get the promotion right in front of you and snapping it away? And how many times have you tried to change a habit like losing weight or starting to exercise more regularly? And you just end up 2 weeks or 1 month later just not doing it anymore. It just didn't stick, and you're just again at square zero. How many of you have that happened before? And the reason is that something is standing in the way. There are barriers inside of us, which are beliefs, thought patterns, and emotional attachments that we need to remove to finally access our abundant energy, to have the free energy flow that we all have since we are on earth. But what happens in our lifetime is that all of these impressions, all of these things that people say and we hear on the news, it all gets chucked into our unconscious. And we're not even aware of that it happens. It happens automatically. Our subconscious, our unconscious doesn't have a filter. It takes everything in. But we live our life. We live our whole life based on that information that is inside of our subconscious, in our DNA. So somebody might have thrown a belief or a sentence in there when you were 3 years old, and you might literally live your whole life by it. And you're wondering, why can I not change? Why is this just not working? And a lot of you here probably have already fantastic practices in your life. You might be meditating regularly. You might try journaling. You might do yoga. You pray regularly. All of these practices are literally so powerful. But if something is there that is blocking you and you're just not even aware of it, they will just not get you to that amazing state that you want to end up in. You're just going to run out of fuel at some point, and you might even stop doing it because you really realize, well, that can't be it because it didn't work, right? So this is really the reason why we have to remove these barriers. We want to have full access to our energy. And once you start to get to that access of your energy, it can't be taken away again. You will stay having it. And it's just so powerful and so amazing. So let me share with you a little bit more of how you can picture a little bit more of what it means to have full access to your energies. I know it could sound a little bit, what does it mean? How does it feel like? So let me share a little bit more about it. It's actually, I like to describe it so. We talked about the key, full access to your abundant energy, remove the barriers. We said it all before. So I like to describe it to my clients and my students as being in a flow state. I'm sure you've heard it before. I hope you've been in a flow state before. What it is being in the zone. You are in a mental state in which a person performing some activity is fully immersed in a feeling of energized focus, full involvement and enjoyment in the process of that activity. Who has been in a flow state before? Share with us in the comments if you had this feeling before, where you were doing something and you felt so amazing. Nothing could distract you around you. You were completely in the zone. You were fully energized. And suddenly you come out of it and you realize, wow, where has the time gone? And you feel all of that energy as well in your body. That's what it means to be in a flow state. And that's what you can have more and more, the more you unblock this energy, that abundant universal energy that we all have access to. And we should all live in full abundance of that energy. So is that not something that you want more of? I bet it is. And another thing that you can have more of is creativity. So I'm sure you have heard this before, that let's say an artist, right? A writer or a painter, they talk sometimes about being blocked and not being able to write the book or paint that masterpiece that they're supposed to be painting. And what do people normally say to them? They say, get out of your head, right? They say, clear your mind, get into nature, step out of your comfort zone, step into your inner energy. That's what they're saying, because that's where creativity comes from. Creativity doesn't come from your mind, doesn't come from your brain. Intelligence does, but not creativity. Creativity comes from being in your energy and actually zapping into that universal energy that we are all linked to. That's where true creativity comes from. Sure, at some point our mind expresses and finds the word of showing it, or our body expresses that creativity by writing that book or painting that picture. But true creativity comes from being more in your energy and having more access to that energy. So if you want more creativity in your life, let's get you unblocked and much more into your energies. So let me just go back full screen here. Okay, I want to share as well another viewpoint on this to make it a little bit clearer. You know that sometimes we hear other people's opinions of what will solve our problem. Hey, I'm literally talking to you now, of telling you what will solve all of your problems. And of course, at the end of it, you can decide if you believe me and try it out, or if you don't. Of course, that's totally your decision. But we do walk around as well, and we have probably tried out already a lot of other things. I personally have. So the examples I want to give you are literal examples that I have lived through before. So one of the things is, maybe somebody have told you before that seeing a therapist or going and getting help from a coach will literally bring you to that result and that goal that you want in your life. And you've tried it out, and it actually probably fixed that one problem that you had in your life, and you felt better for a while. But then maybe after a while, another problem popped up and you were back at square one, because then you had to go back again and get it resolved. So you're thinking, is that really the one solution that is bringing me there? And the answer is probably no, because you not have had that experience of being completely in a life of joy and happiness and ease. Another example is meditation. I love meditation. But when I started meditating as well at the beginning, what happened is that I meditated, and in that moment of meditation and briefly afterwards, I felt great. I had more energy. I felt great. I felt really calm and relaxed. But it didn't, all the meditation I did, it didn't translate into an easier life completely. So I felt like I had to keep meditating just to keep the balance between the stress on the other side and the nice feeling that meditation gave me to just have a fairly okay life. And again, that means that something was missing, right? And the other example is maybe somebody has told you before that you need to find your purpose in life. And if you find your purpose, everything will work out best for you and you will have the perfect life. And yes, finding your purpose is super important. Maybe you've even gone away, you've read books, you've done courses, you went to workshops, and maybe you've even found your purpose. It could even be that you found your purpose. And in that moment, you had so much power, you had so much excitement that kept you going for quite a while. But then the newness of this went away, the passion went slightly down, and the good feelings as well. And your mind switched on and started thinking, why is that happening? Was that not the right purpose? Did I choose the wrong purpose? Was that not it yet? Do I have to find a new one? And all of these things can get you where you want to be. If you want to find your purpose, you can by going and reading books and doing the work and finding your purpose. And maybe you actually found it already, but something else was in the way. And the same for meditation and seeing a therapist and a coach. All of these things work and all of them can help you, and we need to have them as well in our life. I'm not saying that you will never need them before, totally, and I still need them. I still meditate. I'm glad I found my purpose, but I'm always keep working on it to redefine it. And I still see coaches as well for my development. But the ultimate thing is that I realized that something is in the way of all of these working much better and being much more effective. And that's the barriers inside of me. That's the limiting belief that I have that I'm not even aware of. It's the thought patterns that I just have to stop because they're just useless waste of energy. And it's emotional trauma that has accumulated over all the years that I lived on this earth. And I need to remove it. I need to find a new way of dealing with emotion and letting emotions be what they truly are, and living as well a life of where negative emotion does come up and me stop suppressing it and just shutting it down or ignoring it completely, because that's when it really creates barriers in our energy flow. So that's what I wanted to share with you. Let me give you a few other examples for you to understand it better. So when we're doing all of these practices like meditation and journaling and seeing somebody for help, it is a little bit like putting on a band-aid. We are having a cut on our hand and, oh, it's just a small cut, so you're putting a band-aid on it, right? What you don't realize is that there is actually something still in there, like a little splinter. And actually, it starts to get infected, and you have more of a bigger wound and a bigger problem and bigger pain underneath. But you just don't realize what the problem is. And that's kind of like that. It's if you're doing more and more and more of the right work and the good work, you do feel better and it gives you something. But if there are underlying issues, in that case, health issues, mental blocks, thoughts, beliefs, emotions that are holding you back, and you're not even aware of them because they're really stuck in your subconscious, then you will just not reach that high achieving goal that you deserve, that you should have in your life. So others said as well, it's like you're renting this amazing car it's a really fast car and you're driving on the motorway and you're so looking forward to driving at high speed. Hey, maybe you're in Germany where I am, and in some parts of the motorway we have no speed limits, so perfect place to do it. But you have the handbrake on because you don't know the car, you don't realize that you have the handbrake on, and you drive and you're wondering, why am I not getting to this high speed? This really feels odd. Why am I not getting this amazing feeling of speed and freedom? And instead of finding, of course, this root cause of having the handbrake on, you're just pushing harder and harder on the gas pedal. You're just pushing harder because that must be the solution for having more speed. And what you're just doing over time is maybe you're breaking something and maybe it's just ending up in burnout. And that's what we truly don't want, right? So what we have actually in our life, just switching over a little bit further, is we have a inner ecosystem of energy. So when I talk about having an abundance of energy and having full access to your energies, I'm talking about a inner ecosystem, and I call it the holistic energy system. There are different elements to that system that we want to look at and to find really the holistic view of it and getting that full access to our abundant energy. In part 3 of this training, we're actually going to talk about all of the elements to that. So make sure that you are there specifically as well in part 3, that you watch it, that you're live there or you watch the replay, because I'm literally going to through the whole system and explain to you what are all the different parts and how can we make it happen to be more holistically in our energy. But for the second part of this training, I want to actually go through an exercise with you. So I want you to get a little bit more into action. And what I want you to achieve now in the next 10-15 minutes is to find your area, your main area in your life where you probably have some hidden or not so hidden energy blocks. And how can we find that number one area in your life where you can look a little bit closer after this training? Well, we have symptoms of how these energy blocks show themselves in the world. And I'm covering today the 5 top symptoms and signs to uncover these areas of energy blocks. So let me just share the next slide. We are going to now go through an exercise where I introduce each one of these 5 signs, which can appear in your life, and some of them for sure are in your life. And you're going to rate yourself on a scale from 0 to 10 of how much they are in your life. And that way you will realize which one is the strongest, which one is that area where you want to look a little bit closer. And the scale works like that you have 0, which is not at all present in your life, which is great. And you will see as well, I have some description for this of how it looks like if you don't have it in your life at all. And 10 is, of course, very much that it is present in your life. So get your workbook out. You have the exercise there. You're going to fill in each one of these signs. I'm going to reveal them now slide by slide, and then you're going to rate yourself. So put the number next to it. You can do it in the workbook or just on a piece of paper, but go with the exercise because you will uncover some great stuff. And don't try, when you rate yourself, don't try to just be in your head. Don't make it a head exercise or a mind exercise. Just go a little bit more with your gut and with your body. Maybe you have a vision of a number. When I talk about it, just write it down. It's gonna be the right one. Okay, so let's start with the first one. The first one is a very easy one, and I think you can all relate very much to it. It's being stressed and overworked. This is a sign that you have some energy blocks. And if you are high on that scale, you feel, of course, stress. You feel that stress. it even shows up in your body, right? Stress actually comes into your body. We know that a super high degree of percentage of the illnesses we have these days are actually created through stress. So you feel stressed, you feel overworked, you feel a lot of pressure in your life, and you feel a lot of things in your life as well as a burden. And this is a sign that you have, of course, a lot of stress and overwork in your life. The other side of it is, if you don't have it in your life, what you do feel is relaxed. You feel light, you feel easy, and everything in your work or in your responsibilities comes effortlessly to you. This is, of course, what we would love to have more of, right? So rate yourself, pick a number. You can even share it if you want to in the chat. Just put in the number and share how you come out, or not. You don't have to share it, of course, but pick a number and rate yourself on that one. Okay, so I hope you found your number, and we're going to move on to the second one. The second one is prioritizing others. So let me explain a little bit more about this. Prioritizing others means that we are giving a lot of our energy away if we're making other people number one priority in our life. But we should be number one priority in our life. If we would understand that more, we would be able to help the other people in our lives so much better. You know that saying when you're on the plane and the steward or stewardess gives you the message about emergency protocols, and they say, if the mask for oxygen is coming down, put the mask on yourself first before you help others. It is literally a matter of such high impact in your life if you always just prioritize others and never make yourself number one priority. And this has nothing to do with selfishness. What I want you to understand is that if you pay more attention to yourself, if you make yourself number one priority, you multiply the power you have. Because you're so much more in your energy flow, you can help the others that you'd rather want to prioritize in your life so much more than you're doing now, in that space of having no energy and giving it all away. So coming to the rating part, if you don't have this in your life at all, you're absolutely fine. You feel feelings of wholeness, you feel complete, you feel energized, and you feel cared for, even that the care comes from you. But if you are somebody who does quite often prioritize anybody else in your life other than yourself, you might have feelings of being ignored. You might feel regret to situations or other people in your life. You feel maybe misunderstood. You feel like nobody's listening to you, and maybe even disregarded in your private life or maybe even at work. So rate yourself on the scale of 1 to 10 and see where you come out at. Going on to the next one. The third one is influenced by other people's energy. And it is kind of a bit the opposite of the last point, where the last point you gave away the energy and now you're receiving energy from people that actually you don't want, because it's not the nice part of energy that I mean. Let me explain a little bit more about this, because this is something that I don't think is very well known, and I had to learn it as well and discover it for myself. I give you an example. Imagine yourself, you're on the phone with a really good friend, and that friend had something happening in their life, maybe a breakup, or they have a job loss, something not so nice happening in their life, and they are talking about it and telling you about it. And you, of course, as a really good friend, you are listening, you are trying to give advice, you're trying to be empathetic, and that's all, of course, the right things. And then you hang up the phone afterwards and you completely feel drained. You're quite exhausted. Quite often we might not even realize that that's what we feel. Maybe next time when you're in that situation, try to observe yourself, observer, try to observe yourself a little bit more, because it can happen. Because what happened is that that other person's, that friend's energy came onto you and you took it. You actually took that lower frequency of energy and you lowered your energy by that as well. And how does it feel? I've written it here. When you're high on that scale, that you might let other people influence your energy levels, is when you feel exhausted a lot, when you feel drained, especially after conversations with other people or get-togethers. You might feel irritated quite regularly or frustrated. These are all signs that there might be something in that area. And if you don't have it at all, you feel much more centered. You feel stable, anchored, and energetic because you have full control over your energy. And what I want to say is that just because you don't let that energy impact you anymore doesn't mean that you cannot be empathetic, that you cannot be a good listener, and you cannot give advice. But if you're aware of what happens between the energies of two people or even more, you can be able to kind of pull a boundary between it and protect your energy better. You can do all of the other things. You can be an amazing friend, you can be an amazing partner, but it doesn't mean that you have to give away your energy to other people, or that you have to get influenced by other people's negative energy. You can still listen to their story and stay in your energy and protect your energy. Okay, good. So I hope you rated yourself and found your number. Moving on to the next one is avoidance and procrastination. This is a huge sign of some energy blocks or something not going as perfectly as it should be. And yeah, sure, there can be as well positive avoidance and positive procrastination. That's not what I mean by here. I'm talking more about if you are seeing in your life that you're avoiding a lot conflict at work, at home, maybe with your extended family. Maybe you're avoiding to making a decision. Maybe you're avoiding to make even smaller decisions. You don't feel well with making decisions and you maybe leave it more to other people. Or maybe you are dreading to make a big decision and you keep pushing it away, maybe already for months or even for years. It could be as well that you're a bit more in denial that something happens around you and you're just denying that it is in your life and that it's happening to you. And of course, then procrastination. So there are various different ways of procrastination. I'm not going to go into all of them, but if that is something in your life and you're actually a bit upset with yourself about it, that is the kind of procrastination that is a sign that something is not quite right. Because if you don't have that in your life, you feel much more straight, you feel confident, you feel hopeful, and you feel assured. So rate yourself on that one if you have that high in your life or low in your life. And now let's get to the last one, which is the suppression of feelings, and a really important one. I'm talking a lot more about feelings and emotions in my program because this is a very important area where we can discover and remove a lot of barriers inside of us to have much more energy in our life. But by understanding more about how emotions and feelings actually work and how we can treat them better in our lives, we are freeing ourselves as well by being driven by these feelings. I mean, we love good feelings in our lives, don't we? We love it when we feel joyful and happy and loved. But what do we do with negative emotions? We push it down. We ignore it. We hide them. And what happens if we're doing that is it expresses itself later on in our lives that we have a feeling of being stuck. We might feel lost in our lives, or we have lost interest in a lot of things in our lives. Again, we might feel a bit irritable. We might be a bit more snappy, not in such good moods. And we often get triggered by things happening in our life. I said earlier, when I was in that place of really be overworked before my burnout, every little thing that would happen, it might be literally nothing, but it felt like being a disaster. Do you know what I mean? It's like every little thing that pops up that is a little challenge literally feels like somebody's out to get you. And it feels like a disaster. So we're blowing things up if we don't have a healthy relationship with our feelings, the good and the bad ones. Because if we do, we feel much more balanced. We feel a lot more content in our lives, satisfied and fulfilled. So, have you rated yourself? I hope you found a number. And just before we get to the next part of the exercise, I just want to talk a little bit more about the area of feelings, and give you a little bit more of an example of how to understand what happens if we ignore, hide, or suppress negative feelings that are happening in our life. And I learned this example of how to describe it, which is brilliant, from Michael A. Singer. He has written the book, The Untethered Soul. You might have read it before. It's a New York Times bestseller. It's amazing. And how he describes stored energy blocks that happen across our whole life is kind of like we are creating plaque in our veins, and the blood flow is impacted by it. That's how he describes having an experience that triggers a negative emotion and us not living through that negative emotion, but rather we suppress it, we hide it, and we ignore it. And what happens when we do that, it gets stored like a little energy block in our energy system. And it actually stops little by little the energy flowing less and less in our lives. And these are the energy blocks that we want to release as well by having a better relationship with our feelings. And I love that picture of with the veins and the blood flow, because that really explains it very much. That if people might have a heart attack, bless them, that's not great, or they have heart problems, is when they get checked up in the hospital that they find that there is some plaque or some residue in the veins that lets the blood from flowing freely, and that's why they then end up with heart problems or a heart attack. And that's literally what happens in our energy system, and specifically with emotions. Emotion is a very, very important and powerful part of this whole energy system. So I talk now a lot. I want you to take the next few minutes to actually answer a question. You have rated yourself on these 5 signs of where to find an energy block. Take the one with the highest rating and answer the following questions. It's in your workbook, or you can just write down some notes, and take the one that is highest ranking. If you have a few that are on the same level, just choose one of them. You can do the exercise later again on the others. And I just want you, while you're in this realization mode, I want you to make a few notes, because you might not come back to this exercise again, and I want you to find some insights in this exercise. So write down what comes to my mind. I've described that block before. What popped into your mind? Maybe there was something that an experience or a realization or somebody in your life that you link to that area or to that sign. So write as much as you can, write in as much detail as possible about how that block shows up in your life. How do you feel in this area? What are your words? I've given you a lot of my words, but I want you to go and use your words to bring it more to life. So take a minute and write down what comes to your mind. Everything that you're writing down now can really help you to get closer to the blocks and the barriers that are inside of you. Maybe there are some thoughts that come up when you're thinking about this area in your life. Maybe you even discover some beliefs that you can write down. Write everything down that you can think about. And maybe, yeah, like I said, the feelings as well. Take your own words of how you're feeling. Just giving you a few more seconds to complete that exercise. Okay, great. This is really powerful stuff. And we're actually going to use probably that piece of work tomorrow in our next session and actually try to remove the first kind of barrier in your life. So you might have found already something that you identify as being maybe a blocker that you want to remove and that might be standing in your way. But imagine all of the other blocks, the other barriers that are hidden inside of you that you need to find out to get to that pure energy that you want in your life. There is as well a second question. I don't want to go through that now. I want you to take this in your own time as a journaling prompt. This is going to be a nice one. This is going to be fantastic for you to, again, bring some energy in your life. So take this away. If you don't have the workbook, just quickly write these questions down. But take some time afterwards, after this training, maybe tomorrow, to write it down. And if you want to, share it in the Facebook community. I really want to hear from you. I want to hear as well, of course, about your experience today here. And if you have any questions in that regards, come to the Facebook community and share it there with me. Sarah, our community manager, and me, we are in the Facebook group every day, there for you to answer your questions. And I'm, of course, there to give you as well some advice and some pointers where you could look even closer. Okay, so before we wrap up, I want to check in with you to see if you're still okay. I hope you got already a lot out of it today. You can share again here or even in the Facebook community, what was your biggest takeaway from today? Maybe you had an aha moment. Maybe you had even a breakthrough. Maybe it was just something very little that you thought, I never thought about it like that. I want to hear from you. You can put it in the chat or just put it later into the Facebook group so we can learn from each other. This is about community as well. You best learn with other people who are like-minded and who are in the same boat as you. So keep sharing what you have learned from today. And of course, I hope you got already a lot out of it, but there's still going to be part 2 and 3. Going to be getting even better. But before we wrap up, I want to stop for a minute. If you are here and you are either watching this live or you're watching the replay, you know that you're meant for something bigger. You know that you're meant to have a nicer life. And what I have recognized before and seen in people like you and me that do want to achieve something more in their lives, we might stop ourselves for a particular reason. And I want to talk about that reason a little bit more and kind of a bit dismantle it. Because we are kind of driven and we want to always progress and grow, we have, of course, very busy lives. And maybe you're asking yourself already, great what she's talking about, fantastic stuff, but I'm already so busy. How should I do this as well on top of everything else in your life? And this is a belief, again, something that is holding us back quite often. And I don't want this to hold you back. I don't want you to stay where you are now if you have bigger and bolder goals and dreams in your life. So if you really think about it, do you want to spend much more time in the state you're at now? Or do you want to change it? And if you can make this work really, truly your number one priority, maybe not number one, let's say number 3. If you can make it more priority in your life and actually say, okay, I'm going to tackle this now. What Linda has taught me today and in the next trainings, I'm actually going to implement it. You can find the time. And you know that you want to find the time because this is literally going to help you so much to focus more on yourself. And I can tell you from my own experience of I feel like I'm just starting on this journey still. And I have improved already so much. And just when you're already starting on this journey, by starting to remove these barriers that we have been put in our way, or we're putting it ourselves in our way, you're already starting to release more energy into your life. And the more energy you have, the more time you have. You will really, right from the start, when you start doing this work, I can tell you this is what happened for me. You start not feeling anymore like you don't have time, because things that before might have taken away time from you, that were maybe not even that important, they go away like magic. They will just disappear. This is again what I'm talking about of law of attraction and quantum physics. If you remove something, if you replace a belief that is hindering you with a belief that is helping you, you are working with energy and you're taking away that energy from that disempowering belief, that limiting belief, and you're letting something else in your life go. You will see things will happen and you will start to have more time in your life. And the more you keep working on this, the more time for yourself, for your wealth and well-being do you actually have and get. I'm just sharing this from my own experience. You can, of course, decide to believe me or not, but I just wanted to make this a point because I see this again and again with clients and with students, that they are standing in their own way because they think they don't have the time or they have already so much on their plate. But literally doing this work is the key to releasing that energy and bringing more time and energy into your life. Okay, so wrapping up for today, now that you know about the key, so unblocking your energy flow, having full access to your abundant energy, you might be asking yourself, and how am I going to do this? You might have never done this kind of work of replacing a belief with another belief. And that's what we're literally going to do in the second part. We're getting much more into action in the second part next Tuesday. So you don't want to miss that one. We are actually taking one of the elements from the holistic energy system, which is our mind, so our thoughts. So if you have a busy mind and you want to understand more about this and what you can do to have less of a busy, crazy mind, this part is perfect for you. And then we're going to look as well and try to find one of these disempowering, unlimiting beliefs and actually replace it and remove it out of your life and actually freeing some of that energy up for you. That's what we're going to do in the second part. You don't want to miss it. So make sure you're live there or you're watching the replay. So put it in your calendar. If you can't be there live, then put it in your calendar to watch the replay because that's going to be powerful. We're going to share the workbook to that session on Monday, but of course, you can just have pen and paper there as well. All good, all good. So before I'm gonna switch off and say goodbye to you, I somehow don't want to stop, but we've been going on for 1.5 hours. Sorry, guys. When I start, I can't finish. I'm just going to check in as well to see if there are any questions. I've seen a few comments of you. That is so great. I'm so inspired. Oh, thank you so much. You're amazing. That is amazing. Thank you so much for saying that. I see there are no questions so far, but like I said, make sure if something comes up in the next few days, put it in the Facebook group. Let us know your questions, any questions that you have on the content of what I was saying today, anything that is coming up. It's a safe space. We're just letting people in who registered for this. So you can share as well. And did I mention it already? I don't know if I mentioned it. I'm mentioning it now. I'm going to go live on Saturday afternoon and answer any of your questions. So if you catch me there live, it's going to be my time, Germany time, maybe around 4 in the afternoon. I'm going to go live in the Facebook community, and just in the Facebook community, so not on the page. And I'm going to answer any of the questions that you're putting in the community, any questions you have. If you want to know anything about your individual situation and want some feedback from me, put it in the group or be there live, catch me live, and we can interact together. And I'm so looking forward to see you there. And if I don't see you there, I'm going to see you next Tuesday, because I know you understand how powerful this all is. And until then, I love you and I leave you. And thank you so much for being here with us today. And I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and talk to you very soon. Bye-bye.